a debt-addicted swamp in Canberra that is so corrupted that they don't even know which way is facing north.
Okay, that was definitely a segue to another topic.
Sorry to be blunt.
No, that's
I just like the more I dig into this stuff, the more I see and the more I get frustrated with our politicians, and none of them Australia first. And like if you look at let's talk about lobbying. Right? You look at lobbying. Lobbying is just legalized corruption. You know, like they are people. Lobbyists are allowed to come into Parliament, talk on behalf of whoever they're representing, whether that be foreign interests or domestic interests, and they want to put them first. And who knows what they're doing with these politicians behind the table? But is that Australia first attitude? Are they really speaking for us? Are they doing what we want them to do, or are they doing what their donors or their bureaucrats or their or any sort of bit of foreign policy wants to do to them? Like the more I dig into this, because I've like maybe 6 months ago I was like, yeah, the Liberals. Then you dig into the Liberals, they're like, these guys are just as bad. They're just as bad. They're just as bad with their foreign policy. They're the ones that have been printing mass amounts of debt since 2008. They're the ones that are flooding us with, or they started the flood with immigration. They're the ones that started the housing, the housing boom. It's like, is there really an option here?
What would you say? What would you say if I said that it doesn't matter who's in power, Liberals, Labor?
I would completely agree with you.
That things aren't going to change.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
And so what do we do about that? Or do you see that there is a way to change? Right, like sometimes the mission takes a while to achieve, right? And you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't think there was light at the end of the tunnel, is my guess.
Yeah, you need a cultural revolution, because culture is always upstream of politics. Because what I found as well, politics, especially politicians, they all want to protect their pension and their pay. And I found out when I started talking about stuff, politicians would get in my slipstream and they would start talking about stuff, practically using the exact same words that I used during Parliament. And I'm like, that they follow me, they like my stuff. They're saying what I'm saying. And politicians never want to lead the way. They always want to get in behind the cultural revolution. So there needs to be a cultural revolution happen. But we're at a point where, the left is practically winning the cultural revolution, because they've been indoctrinating our children since 2008 and 2010, telling that the land they're on is stolen. That like even the climate change debate. If you try and debate climate change with a younger person, they think like, you're going to kill me in 30 years if you don't shut up about this climate, because the whole world's going to come crashing down. And, like the breakdown of masculinity in males, there's a clear target on males.
100%.
And so, like you weaken males, you're fearing with climate change, you tell them that the land they're on is stolen. So when you flood or when you flood Australia with half a bloody planet, they don't really care, do they?
I think it's one of those things with people that are living in Australia, like what you mentioned earlier. I've got friends that think the only option is leaving. But it's funny because most people don't leave, right? Most people stay here. Most people don't travel a lot. They don't see anything other than the 5 or 10 kilometer radius that they live in. And I think when you do leave, right, and not even just leaving in regards to permanently, just leaving in regards to seeing how different countries work. Like I've got a friend, very successful friend, that's went to Dubai and he's left Dubai and he's lived there for 3 years. And it's not perfect, but he's like, now I've actually realized how bad Australia actually is, because I have something to compare it to. We have nothing to really compare it to here, right? I compare it to Canada because I'm originally from Canada, but Canada and Australia are basically, brother and sister almost. This is the exact same thing is going on. And when you hear that from people that, are quite savvy going and all the reasons why it's so much better, it's actually sad to see. And I think that's why a lot of people are leaving. A lot of people aren't just leaving because they wake up one day going, hey, I think I want to go to Singapore or Hong Kong or, Dubai or Cyprus or wherever it is. Usually there's some influence there. There's someone that's done it before them that has then come back to the base, right? And go, hey guys, guess what? This, and this is happening over there, and it's much better than over here. So go check it out. And that's where that influence comes from. And I think a lot of people here, like, we just put up with it because we don't think there are any other options. And then what happens is people lose hope, right? Like hope in this country, when you talk to a lot of people, right, that aren't in entrepreneurship or aren't successful, like the battlers out there, they've got no hope, you know, and it's a sad thing to see, which leads into my next question, right? Like Australia needs to articulate what it means, right, of being what it actually means of being Australian, right? So obviously a former soldier like yourself in your 30s, how do you define what Australian actually is in your eyes?
So like as a singular point, so what I see as an Australian person or Australian in general?
Yeah, Australia in general. Like saying, okay, if Australia was not what it is today and what it should be in the view of an ex-soldier in their 30s knowing what you know today.
Yeah, well, the Australia, I'll tell you the Australia that I fought for back into, like 2012, 2008. I didn't fight so our kids could be indoctrinated. I didn't fight so there could be 32 different genders. I didn't fight so we could print mass amounts of debt and then flood the place with a lot of people to cover up the economic cracks. And I didn't fight for a generation to come through and be ashamed of their past. I think this is one of the biggest things and one of the biggest issues at the moment is so many of our younger generation are now rolling over, and there's almost a bit of self-hatred in that country, and I definitely didn't fight for that. I didn't fight so our kids could be told, hey, the land you're on is stolen. It's like, yeah, okay, like there was some bad stuff in our past, but let's embrace the Australia we have now, or in 2008 or in 2012 when I was over in Afghanistan. Like that's the Australia that I love, where it didn't matter like whose parents came from where. If you loved where you were from and you loved where you lived and you loved this country and you would die for this country, and that's the Australia that I loved. But right now there's too many people that are ashamed of being Australian, I think.
We've spoken about these topics a lot on this podcast, the green and the energy, the green movement, the what's it called? The welcome to country, the genders, indoctrination, all these kind of little stuff, the false deities, all the different flags, all these. And we've spoken to Topher Field about it, and he basically says that it's government's attempt to play God. In your view, do you think that there's a bigger plan to all these little things that we're seeing? And can you explain to the audience what you think that plan is?
Yeah, it definitely seems that way, doesn't it? Like all these things are happening at once. One would assume that this is all coordinated from somewhere and something. Like, is it a one world government that they're trying to push onto us? Are they trying to crash the economy? What are they trying to do? Because in my right mind, the way that I would be running the country is there's no way I'd be doing any of this stuff at all. And for the people that have, taken control of this country, especially since, like let's say 2014, that's when I realized everything started to go wrong in 2014. And one of the main things was when they started to let women into infantry roles, which I heavily disagree with. And it started getting really. That's when I left the army as well, right? Because all this stuff I noticed, they started to talk about genders in the military, and I'm like, hang on, this is the one place where we shouldn't be talking about this, and I don't want to be fighting in a force when this is happening. So I left. But yeah, I guess I don't know. Like, I'm very careful what I say now because I know my voice is very large, and I don't want to say anything that I can't prove. But it definitely seems like something is happening behind the scenes. Orchestrated potentially by the WEF, the UN, the WHO, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all these guys. They seem to be having some sort of power play behind the scene where our politicians are potentially controlled by something higher up. Even Donald Trump the other day came out and he said that he doesn't have enough skilled workers in his country and that he needs to start importing more people that are skilled because Americans aren't skilled enough. And I thought to myself, man, if he's getting captured by this immigration system and he needs to rise immigration, like, what's going on there?
There is, if I could take the other side for a minute, there is some truth in that, right? Like for the US to win the energy war or whatever you want to call it against China, they're going to need a lot more skilled welders. They're going to need a lot more skilled tradesmen, blue-collar tradesmen to go out there and reindustrialize the grid. And these are some of the problems that I think our politicians just aren't tuned into, the way that the world actually works. It's like it's easy to say, oh, we're going to go at warp speed and we're going to take on China and we're going to reindustrialize the energy grid and we're going to do this, but you're not going to do it with the current level of employment or the current level of blue collar workers that they have in the States. They need to retrain a lot of workers. And then in order to retrain those workers, it's going to cause wage inflation and it's going to continue on the spiral that we're in with debt, inflation, etc. Do you find it surprising that a lot of these politicians don't actually understand the issues that they're speaking about? It's just like it's always a talking point.
Yeah, because
it's always what they're being fed by
yeah.
the names you just said before.
Yeah, because all these politicians are just career politicians. None of them actually worked. You know what I mean? Like, maybe there's a few of them. Andrew Hastie was in the military, a few others maybe. But a lot of these people have just been in politics way too long. We need to have term limits and get these people out. You know, we have like dinosaurs walking around. Except Bob Catter, he's cool. He can stay.
I saw the podcast with him.
That's great. But it's just like, and that, you know, the thing with Donald Trump, like, I'll believe that when I see it, that he actually gets skilled immigrants in, because the immigrants that are coming in now, they're not skilled. They are purposely being flooded in because we are addicted to debt and we have record amounts of debt. And to service that debt, we need more people in the system to pay off the interest that we owe to people that are buying our debt.
Well, it kind of makes sense, right? Like when you look at stats, like you said, right? Birth rates are lower.
Yeah.
Debt is higher. Baby boomers are retiring. And most of the younger generation are in a digital, they're you know, it's a digital generation. They're making money off a laptop, right? There's not many, you know, young Australians coming out going, you know, I want to be a welder or I want to be a plumber. So I kind of see both sides, but I agree with you going, there's a very low percentage of these people that are coming into the country that have the skills we require. So if you're going, you know, I read an article saying, you know, we're going to be, you know, to keep up with current demand for housing, we need 17,000 more electricians. Then why aren't we bringing in more electricians? Now, whether it's because we're propping up the immigration or not, or whatever, no matter what, we're still lacking, right? So like the stats are telling you we need these people, then why aren't you bringing these types of people in? That's what I don't understand, right? Like there's record immigration. Like I look at Dubai, they're bringing in two types of people in Dubai. They're bringing in wealthy people and they're bringing in the laborers and everyone else that has to appease to the wealthy people for the stuff that they're buying. Those are the two different types of people that are going there, in my opinion. Here, there's just a melting pot of all kinds of different people. And I'm not, you know, far off thinking the same thing as you going, are they just being brought in to prop up what, you know, the mess that has been created?
Well, it's true. I mean, I think that most of the time, people in general, not just politicians, choose the easy option. And the easy option is to bring people in to prop up the housing price or to continue the growth in housing prices. Because my belief is it's not, we've spoken about this, it's not the immigration that causes the rising housing prices, it's the debt. And you're just bringing in the immigrants because they have the borrowing capacity to service the debt. And so you're just bringing in a new bunch of people that can service the debt.